Sometimes the reason you can't settle with someone is simple. It's because Allah doesn't want you to. And I know that's not what you want to hear, because in your heart, you've already planned a future with them. You've imagined the wedding, the home, the life. You've told yourself, if I just try harder, if I'm more patient, it will work. But deep down, there's this heavy, uneasy feeling you can't shake. No matter how many times you start again, it always ends the same way. Peace, Sakinah, is one of the greatest gifts Allah can give a believer. It's not just the absence of problems, it's the feeling in your chest when your soul is at rest. When you can breathe deeply without that tightness pressing on your heart. When you feel safe in Allah's plan, even if life isn't perfect. Allah says in the Quran, "It is He who sent down tranquility into the hearts of the believers." 48:4. But here's the thing. If every time you connect with someone, that tranquility disappears, you need to ask yourself, why? Sometimes the loss of peace is loud, constant arguments, big fights, tears, shouting. Other times, it's quiet, but even more dangerous. You pray, but your mind is somewhere else. You read Quran, but the words slide past you without touching your heart. You sit with your family, but you're not really there. It's like your soul is unsettled. You might feel okay for a short while, maybe a few hours, maybe a day or two. They make you laugh, they distract you, they make you feel wanted. But then, something happens. A strange comment, a disagreement, or nothing at all, just a heaviness that creeps back into your chest. And it's exhausting, because you keep trying to fix it. You tell yourself, maybe if I'm more understanding, maybe if I change how I talk, maybe if I ignore that feeling. But the cycle keeps repeating. Here's the truth. When Allah truly wants someone for you, there will be a reason your heart remembers Him more, not less. They will make it easier for you to guard your salah, not harder. They will protect your peace, not disturb it. Their presence will feel like shade on a hot day, not a storm you're always trying to escape. Peace is not a small thing. It's not just a feeling. It's a sign from Allah. If it keeps slipping away every time this person comes closer, it may be because Allah is showing you, this is not where your soul will rest. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Leave that which makes you doubt for that which does not make you doubt." Tirmidhi. If you're always doubting, always restless, always uneasy, that's not peace. And if Allah wanted this person to be a safe place for you, would you really be losing the very tranquility He gave you before they came? Yes. Every relationship will have tests. That's normal. Even the best of people, even the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, faced challenges in their relationships. But here's what we forget. The right tests build you. The wrong tests break you. The right kind of challenges will push you to be more patient, more forgiving, more humble. They will make you turn to Allah more often. They will remind you that love is not just about what you feel, but about how you grow together. But the wrong kind of challenges? They drain you. They leave you weaker in your deen, colder in your heart, and further from Allah. Ask yourself honestly, before this person came into your life, were you praying more regularly? Were you reading Quran with focus? Did you wake up for Fajr without hesitation? Did you make dua for Jannah often? And now, do you find yourself skipping prayers because you're busy talking to them? Do you delay your Quran reading because your mind is filled with their words? Do you make dua but only asking Allah to fix the fights between you two, instead of asking Him to fix your heart? The right person will test you in ways that bring you closer to Allah. The wrong person will test you in ways that distract you from Allah. Think of it like this. Some challenges are like exercise at the gym. They're tiring, but they make you stronger. Other challenges are like an illness. The longer you stay in it, the weaker you get, until you don't even recognize yourself anymore. Sometimes we think, Allah is testing my love. If I just prove I can handle the hardship, He will reward me with this person. But not every test is meant to be passed. Some tests are meant to show you that you're on the wrong path. If staying with someone is making you compromise your salah, your modesty, your honesty, that's not a love Allah wants you to fight for. That's a warning you're supposed to listen to. And here's something scarier than losing them. It's losing the version of you that used to feel close to Allah. The version that felt light after tahajjud. The version that made sincere dua with tears in your eyes. The version that guarded your faith like it was the most precious thing in the world. If you lose that version of yourself just to hold on to someone, that's not love anymore. That's harm. Allah's mercy is that He will never keep you in a bond that pulls you away from Him. If a relationship is costing you your connection with Allah, no amount of holding on will make it right. Sometimes, Allah's no doesn't come as a loud voice. It comes as doors that keep shutting in your face, again and again and again. At first, you call it bad timing. You tell yourself, it's just a small obstacle. Every love story has challenges. You push forward with hope, thinking that your effort will make it work. But then it starts to feel strange. Every time you try to take a step forward, something gets in the way. You finally plan a serious talk about the future. Suddenly, a family emergency pulls one of you away. You save money to travel and meet them. Your car breaks down the week before. You prepare for a special meeting with their parents. They cancel because something came up. And it's not just once or twice. It's over and over again, until you start to notice the pattern. These are not just inconveniences, they are roadblocks, and roadblocks are often a form of divine protection. Allah says in the Quran, "And it may be that you dislike something while it is good for you, and it may be that you love something while it is bad for you. Allah knows, and you do not know." 216. We imagine Allah's guidance will come like a dramatic dream, or a direct ayah that matches our situation perfectly. But sometimes, it's more subtle. It's a string of failed plans. It's the constant feeling of pushing against something invisible. It's the same cycle repeating until you can no longer ignore it. And yes, you could say, maybe it's just coincidence. But ask yourself, at what point does coincidence turn into a message? At what point do you stop calling it bad luck and start calling it Allah's protection? Because here's the truth. When Allah wants something for you, the path may still have challenges, but those challenges will build the connection, not constantly block it. With the wrong person, the obstacles aren't there to strengthen you, they're there to stop you. And I know this is hard to hear, because when your heart is attached, every blocked door feels like a test you should try harder to pass. But sometimes the harder you push, the heavier the resistance becomes. Because Allah is not just protecting your future, He's protecting your faith, your dignity, and your peace. If every time you take a step forward, life pushes you 2 steps back, maybe it's time to stop pushing and start asking, Ya Allah, if this is not good for me, remove it from my heart and replace it with what pleases you. Sometimes, the clearest sign that Allah doesn't want you with someone is not an argument. It's the slow, quiet disappearance of who you used to be. Before they entered your life, you had an identity that felt whole. You had boundaries you didn't even have to think about, they were part of you. You knew what you stood for. You guarded your salah like it was a treasure. You felt uneasy if you missed even one prayer. You dressed with dignity, not because people told you to, but because it made you feel close to Allah. You had habits that kept your heart alive: Quran recitation, dua, attending Islamic gatherings, helping your family without being asked. Back then, you weren't perfect, but you knew your direction. You might have stumbled, but you always found your way back. Your connection with Allah was the anchor that kept you steady. When they came into your life, you didn't notice it at first. But slowly, your priorities shifted. Your days began revolving around their messages, their moods, their plans. Prayers that used to be the center of your day started to become something you fit in around them. You started editing yourself. You spoke less about your faith in case they wouldn't understand. You hid certain parts of your deen because you didn't want to scare them away. It's not just about religion, it's about who you were. The version of you that laughed more easily. The version of you that didn't carry this constant heaviness in your chest. The version of you that had space in your mind for dreams, goals, and acts of worship instead of constant emotional calculations about someone else's approval. The painful truth is this: if the you from before was more at peace, more connected to Allah, and more certain of your values, and the you now feels distant from Him, confused, or smaller in spirit, then maybe the lesson is not about trying harder to keep them. Maybe the lesson is about returning to the person you were before they came, the one who knew their worth in the eyes of Allah, even without anyone else's validation. Losing yourself rarely feels like one big, dramatic fall. It's almost never a sudden decision. It happens in small, quiet steps so subtle that you don't even realize what's being taken from you until much later. It begins with little compromises you tell yourself are harmless. You delay dua just this once because you're in the middle of a conversation. You skip reading Quran today because you're too tired after staying up late on a call. You laugh at a joke you would have found inappropriate a year ago, but you brush it off. It feels small. You tell yourself, I still believe, I'm still connected to Allah, I'll get back on track soon. But small steps turn into habits. Delaying prayer becomes normal. Lowering your standards for modesty or speech feels less uncomfortable. Talking to them becomes easier than talking to Allah. And because it's gradual, you don't notice the distance building between you and the person you used to be. This is how Shaitan works, not by making you abandon your faith in one leap, but by making tiny changes so slowly that you don't fight them. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam warned us that sins are like drops of water filling a vessel drop by drop until one day it's full. By the time you notice, it's not just your habits that have shifted, it's your heart. What once felt sacred now feels negotiable. What once felt wrong now feels normal. And this is the most dangerous change of all, when your heart stops reacting to what displeases Allah. The change didn't happen overnight, but if you don't act, neither will the return. It will take conscious, deliberate steps to come back to the person you were before you started letting go of the things that kept your soul alive. Faith is rarely lost in one loud moment. It's not usually a single choice that takes you away from Allah. It's a slow, quiet erosion, like water, wearing away rock over time. Before, your faith was alive. You felt joy in reading Quran. You made dua, often not just when you needed something, but because you loved speaking to your Rabb. You were careful about what you watched, where you went, and who you surrounded yourself with. Your salah wasn't just a ritual, it was your comfort, your reset, your meeting with Allah. But now, without realizing it, your Quran is collecting dust. Your du'as have become fewer, or they've become focused on one thing, asking Allah to fix this person or this relationship. You still pray, but it feels rushed, almost like a box you're ticking off so you can get back to your phone. You no longer feel the same sweetness in worship that you once did. It's not just about Salah or Quran. It's about the way your heart reacts or stops reacting to reminders. You scroll past Islamic videos that used to inspire you because they make you uncomfortable now. You avoid gatherings where you might be reminded to change something you've grown used to doing. You silence the voice in your head that says, "This isn't who you were." That's the scary part about the quiet erosion of faith. It doesn't feel urgent. You don't feel like you're losing everything, so you don't fight it. But little by little, your connection to Allah weakens. And by the time you realize, it feels like climbing back up will take everything you have. Shaitan loves this kind of slow drift. He knows that if you saw yourself running away from Allah all at once, you'd stop immediately. So he convinces you it's just a small delay, just one missed prayer, just one more conversation before you go make wudu. My brothers and sisters, a person who truly belongs in your life will never be a reason for you to drift away from Allah. They will protect your faith, not weaken it. They will remind you of your akhirah, not make you forget it. If your faith has been quietly slipping since they came, that's not love, that's loss. And no relationship in this dunya is worth the risk of losing your connection with the one who created you. Real love, the kind that Allah blesses, should not make you smaller. It should not require you to hide who you are, silence your values, or fold away your faith to fit into someone else's comfort zone. When Allah sends someone into your life as a blessing, they will not dim your light, they will help it shine brighter. They will encourage your salah, not distract you from it. They will protect your modesty, not question it. They will support the parts of you that bring you closer to Jannah, not pressure you to let them go. If being with someone requires you to keep trimming your personality, your values and your principles just to keep them happy, that is not love, that is control. And worse, if those compromises start to touch your deen, your prayers, your hijab or beard, your boundaries, then you're not just shrinking, you're spiritually starving yourself. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Whoever seeks the pleasure of Allah, even if it displeases the people, Allah will be pleased with him and will make the people pleased with him." Ibn Hibban, if you live trying to please a person at the cost of displeasing Allah, you may win their approval today, but you risk losing his tomorrow. And when Allah's pleasure is gone, every other form of acceptance will feel empty. Love is not supposed to feel like you're constantly negotiating pieces of your soul. It is not supposed to be a trade where you give up parts of yourself to keep the peace. If you have to shrink to keep someone, you will eventually disappear entirely. A person worth keeping will love you, as you are not a watered-down version of yourself. They will be proud to stand next to you when you live your deen fully. They will not just accept your faith, they will value it, protect it, and grow with you in it. And here's the truth. If you have to choose between keeping them and keeping Allah's pleasure, the choice should be clear. Because no matter how much you love someone, it will never match the love Allah has for you and the love you should have for Him. One of the saddest moments in life is when you look in the mirror and you don't recognize the person looking back. It's not that your face has changed. It's not that your clothes are different. It's something in your eyes. Before, there was a light in them, a quiet confidence that came from knowing who you were. A peace that came from knowing Allah was pleased with you, or at least that you were trying to please Him. But now, that light feels dimmer. Your eyes look tired, not from lack of sleep, but from carrying the weight of constant compromise. You remember the you who laughed without feeling guilty afterwards. The you who prayed and actually felt your heart soften. The you who didn't have to filter your faith to be accepted. That person was whole. That person was free. Now, you see a version of yourself that feels smaller. A version that calculates every move, wondering if it will upset them. A version that spends more energy keeping the relationship alive than keeping your connection with Allah alive. This is when you have to be brutally honest with yourself. If staying with someone is costing you the very self that Allah created you to be, what are you really gaining? The truth is, people can take many things from you, your time, your energy, even your money, but the most dangerous loss is when they take you from yourself. Because when you lose who you are, you also lose the ability to show up in front of Allah as the servant you were meant to be. Love should never make you feel like a stranger to yourself. If the person you see in the mirror now is weaker in faith, heavier in heart, and further from Allah than before, that reflection is your warning. That's Allah showing you, this is not the direction I want you to grow in. It rarely starts with something big. Maybe you stretch a conversation past the limits you know are halal. Maybe you start meeting in ways you never would have before. Maybe you stay up so late talking that you miss Fajr and tell yourself, "I'll make it up later." At first, it bothers you. There's a little sting in your chest, but you push it aside because you don't want to make a big deal out of it. The more you repeat something, the less it bothers you. And before you know it, the guilt that used to feel sharp becomes faint. You stop feeling that rush to make istighfar after crossing a limit. You stop thinking twice before doing something that once made you uncomfortable. This is how Shaitan works, not by making you abandon all your values overnight, but by normalizing small acts of disobedience until they don't feel wrong anymore. You notice yourself hiding more. You tell your parents you're out with friends when you're not. You tell your friends you're busy when really you're somewhere you shouldn't be. You delete messages. You adjust your story so it won't raise questions. At first, it feels like protecting your privacy, but in reality, you're protecting the sin. When you're with someone who normalizes what Allah forbids, you start spending more time in environments where His commands are ignored. Jokes that mock religion become just harmless fun. Being around immodesty becomes just part of the vibe. And instead of speaking up, you laugh along because you don't want to be the serious one. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us, "A person is upon the religion of his close friend, so let one of you look at whom he befriends." Abu Dawud. When you are around someone who makes disobedience seem normal, you slowly start to absorb their standard as your own. And when your standard shifts away from Allah's guidance, you may not even notice how far you've drifted until returning feels like climbing a mountain. If you catch yourself doing things you once promised you'd never do, if your conversations are full of things you'd be ashamed to repeat in front of your parents or in front of Allah on the Day of Judgment, if you're hiding more than you're sharing with the people who love you, that's not just a phase. That's a sign that this connection is pulling you further from Allah, not closer. My brothers and sisters, when Allah wants better for you, He doesn't just pull you away from bad actions. He pulls you away from the people who make bad actions feel okay. If this person is slowly making you forget what's right and what's wrong, it may be that Allah is saving you from a version of yourself you would regret becoming. When you first meet someone, you don't just see them as they are. You see them through a lens you've built in your mind. A lens made from hope, attraction, admiration, and maybe even longing. You focus on their best qualities. You excuse the rest. You tell yourself, everyone has flaws. I'll work around them. And for a while, you hold on to that image tightly, because it's not just them you're protecting, it's the dream you've attached to them. It doesn't happen all at once. At first, it's little things. They promise to call and forget. They speak about values but ignore them when it's inconvenient. They show kindness to some, but only when it benefits them. You notice it, but you tell yourself, it's nothing. Everyone slips up. Over time, these small cracks widen. Their reactions in difficult situations reveal a side you didn't see before, a side that lacks empathy, a side that cuts corners with honesty, a side that treats your deen, your boundaries, or your feelings as negotiable. And slowly, you start to realize the person you fell for may not be the person standing in front of you now. Sometimes, we don't love a person. We love the idea of them. We love the version we imagined in our minds. A version that was patient, God-fearing, respectful, and consistent. But the reality doesn't match the picture, and accepting that feels like a kind of heartbreak on its own. It's hard because you're not just letting go of them. You're letting go of the story you built around them. Allah is Al-Haq, the truth. When He wants to protect you, He will not let you live in an illusion forever. He will allow moments, events, and conversations to bring reality to the surface. And once you see the truth, you can't unsee it. This is His mercy even when it feels painful. Because building your life on an illusion will always collapse in the end. Allah says, "But perhaps you hate a thing and it is good for you, and perhaps you love a thing and it is bad for you, and Allah knows, while you know not." 216. You may feel like you're losing something precious, but in reality, you may be losing something that was never truly yours. Something that would have harmed you in ways you couldn't yet see. This realization hurts. It's normal to grieve the person you thought they were. But holding on to an illusion won't make it real. It will only delay the healing Allah wants for you. Sometimes, the greatest protection Allah gives you is the moment He shows you who someone really is, so you can walk away before you lose even more of yourself.